Well, we're down to the end. 10 of 10 little videos that we've put together for people to look at covering this book, How to Become a Contagious Christian. It's a wonderful book, and if you've just been watching the videos but haven't read the book, I just encourage you, go to Amazon or somehow get the book, or we'll get you one from our church, and just read it. It's got much more than we can give in just a few minutes here. But tonight we're going to, in this particular show, I'm taping it at night here, lesson chapters 13, 14, and 15. 13, crossing the line of faith. This is scary for a lot of us. Oh, for a long time as a young pastor, I could not ask any questions. Do you want to be baptized? Do you want to join our church? Do you want to accept Christ? All these were excruciating questions until I saw another pastor do them. Have you thought about being baptized? Huh? I could say that. And I gradually got a little more courage. It's still hard for me as a white pastor who preaches around the world to make appeals and ask for people to come forward. What if no one comes? What if? You're scared to death. I don't want to pressure anybody. Don't want anyone to be coerced, manipulated. And so then we don't help people cross the line. But there are times when we have to ask the kinds of questions that help people step over the line. There's a payoff. There's nothing like it. I spoke for a university in Africa, Zimbabwe, a few months ago. And I'd been there the year before for a week of prayer. A young man came to see me, just a great kid. And I can't go with all the details of it, but anyway, I was used of God to help him get over the line. Obviously, many people had been in his life before, Bible teachers, parents, pastors, but I had this one little role and ended up baptizing him that Saturday afternoon. Now I'm standing in my graduation robe, congratulating 400 or 500 graduates. Can't tell who they are because they've got their hoods on. And all of a sudden, he leans up to me and says, I was your first convert at that place. I was? I baptized you? Yes. And then I remembered. I helped them over the finish line. Had a lady come to see me after church one time. Agnostic. Maybe even atheist. I don't know. But certainly not a believer. You want to study? Sure. Began to read. Never once was willing to make a decision in front of me. But I get an email. I'm praying now. Well, believes there's a God at least. I think I've become a Christian. And I would just say, what do you think? It's up to you. Have you thought about, going over the line? Here's what it'll mean. Here's how you do it. And then I get another email. I think I'm going to join the church. I think I'm going to be baptized. Now she works here in our church doing PowerPoints for us every Saturday. She's a terrific believer in Christ. There's nothing like it. Well, there's some hard questions. When do you celebrate when people cross the finish line? Traditionally in our church, we wait until they finish 28 fundamental beliefs and have cleaned up a few smoking, drinking habits, aren't working on Sabbath, and then we'll say, okay, let's have a baptism and we'll celebrate. And that's legitimate. That's the finish line. Other people would make the case when you accept Christ. Most churches, that's their basic fundamental question. Have you accepted Christ? Are you a fully devoted follower of Christ? Okay, there's the finish line. And you have to decide. I take pretty seriously Matthew 25, where it talks about the bridegroom's party. When does a party happen? When you come in the door and you're with the bridegroom. The party begins. Yes, you have to learn all the things that Jesus taught. Jesus said in Matthew 28, teach them to observe everything that I have commanded you. And so yes, we have to teach. Is baptism at the beginning, middle, or end of that? You'll have to decide. In our tradition, we want to teach people enough so they know what they are doing with their eyes wide open and accept Christ. But we are clearly to make disciples. We don't just, accept Jesus. We want to have disciples of Christ who are fully devoted. One, I don't know who devised this. It's something called the receptivity scale. I can't put it on the screen for you, but -10, 0 to +10. -10, you would be an atheist. And then all the, scales down to 0 as you soften up to God. And then all the steps you take after Christ to come more fully mature in Christ until you are fully devoted, absolutely locked in, settled, believer in Christ. Do you have to be the one to always take someone over the finish line from -1 to +1? No. You may have the honor of that. There's nothing like it and thrilling. They thank you for the rest of their lives. It may be your job to take someone from -9 to -7. It's your job to just soften up some hard soil that is just bitter because of some experience. I talked to someone yesterday at a basketball game. Grew up in the church, had left it. Son was there in the basketball game. And someone said, he used to be in the church. Some things happened. I don't know what happened. I just said, how are you doing? There was no time to, you want to accept Christ? You want to get back to the church? No. Just love. And you move people a notch or two. And that may be your role in this particular case. Move people from -6 to -4. Or someone from +3 to +5. You're in a small group, nurturing them in Christ. You're building the kingdom, moving people a couple notches to the right. And so just build the kingdom. Should you get involved in asking questions? People have struggled with that. And I'm just going to say there's a time to give people a chance to open the door to say, would you like to accept Christ? No pressure. Doesn't affect me. I tell people all the time, I don't get a single more dollar as a pastor. I get no more prestige to have 1,000 members or 1,001. This is for you. Yes, I'll be thrilled. Yes, there'll be a party in heaven when you do. But that's between you and God. But have you thought about it? Is now the time? Anything keeps you from moving forward with Christ? Helping people over the finish line. If they do it, give them a high five. Welcome them to the church. God bless you. Thank you. Parties in heaven. And we make a big deal out of it. Chapter 14. How do we have contagious Christians now become contagious churches? Well, I'm in the middle of it here. 4 months at a new church, Garden Grove, my wonderful new friends. How do you get this into the DNA where evangelism is not just something you do a couple of weeks every 3 years? It's just in our DNA. We are thinking about how to expand the kingdom. We have Little Saigon. How do we get some of them to come? We have a Korean district over here. We have people all around us, kids. We have a school. How do we win people for Christ? It's just in our DNA. Worship services, we highlight it. Classes like this. Prayer bands after church. We're doing it every other week. All prayer bands praying for people. What can we do to get this in the DNA? We had a day of prayer and fasting last week. Whatever it takes. 7 churches, the messages to the 7 churches. Number 1, Ephesus. Have you lost your first love? First love. Next one, be faithful unto death. Be faithful. Number 3, no compromise. Number 5, stay awake. Are you awake? Is the church awake? We need to be awake. Number 6, open doors. Open doors of grace. God will accept everyone. Grace, everyone, everywhere, every time. Number 7, Laodicea, white hot. No lukewarm. White hot for Christ. Full of passion for God. That's how a church becomes contagious. And somehow a church becomes alive. We're going to do it here in this church. Number 15, investing your life in people. I hope at the end of this 10 videos, reading the book, you will understand what a life is like. To become an impact player for God. Not satisfied just being in the pew, soak up religion, and then go home. But to be an impact player, get off the sidelines, into the game, the old arena quote, be in the arena, doing something great for God, loving people. The last 30 seconds of your life, you're going to wish some things. And you're going to wish you'd done more to win a few people for God. Spoken better for God. Go do it. Be a contagious Christian. You'll not be sorry.